What's up, everybody? If you guys didn't see last week of RLCS, primarily the team to focus on was the one and only MoistCr1tikal, which I don't think I'll ever get used to saying. A lot of the reason why is because a big name content creator by the name of MoistCr1tikal, if you guys don't know him, where you been, but is the owner of the team and alone for his very own watch party. Not only was it like super wholesome, it had a lot of like just genuine moments. It was awesome to see people, although less knowledgeable about the game, involved in the esport, rooting for their team. But also you saw what is kind of insane. A watch party had like 30,000 views. Like an individual person's stream pulled 30,000 views. That is something crazy. More to that, and what this video is actually about today is actually about MoistCr1tikal in particular and MoistCr1tikal. Something that I've always enjoyed about Charlie is the way that he carries himself and the way that he approaches topics, his like candidness when he comes to talking about things. And I feel like the First Touch guys also recognize how important it is to capitalize on what went down this first weekend. The first time that Charlie watches the esport publicly, he shares it with his audience. He's rooting for his team. The team obviously looks really, really good. Like everything kind of falls into place. And because of that, they also sit down with MoistCr1tikal and Rizzo. As you guys know, Rizzo, former pro player for G2, now content creator for Moist, also been in the scene for a really long time. On First Touch, they sit and talk to him for about 15 minutes. And because I haven't seen it, I figured it'd be cool to watch together, provide some insight, as well as talk about kind of my thoughts on his responses. Because I, again, am just super interested in what he has to say about the, hopefully, working with Psionic's approach that's talked about, some insight that he provides, and kind of his take on the scene altogether. So with that said, let's jump over to the interview and take a listen.
You know, we wanted to really get this kind of in for like our final segment, just be able to like interview you guys and talk to you about like the
some of these already in this L bar.
Like, let's start from, I guess, the beginning.
Interesting name.
Talk to me about how you guys ended up acquiring the former Team Queso roster.
Well, it's a space we wanted to be in for a while. Since starting MoistCr1tikal, Rocket League has always been like our #1 priority. For
those that don't remember, they tried to acquire the former True Neutral team that got picked up by Complexity. They also went after, I forget the other team they went after. There was 3 teams that they tried to pick up. It might have, I don't think they tried for the former Cringe Society Ground Zero. Oh yeah, they went after Sandrock. Thank you, chat. They went after Sandrock Gaming, which then became Falcons almost like instantly. And then they also have, obviously, the attempts to go after the former Queso roster. So, and I think arguably they got the best out of the 3. I think it worked out really, really well.
So, you know, he's one of the best in the world, I'd say, and he's been glued to the scene for a while. So, he'd always have the games on, and we'd always be going hype on our own, and just like think of it as a pipe.
I just realized that they're in the same. They're in the same building.
Esports was Rocket League
because Rizzo was in Miami.
We got lucky enough where Rizzo was orgless. They left him out in the rain, so I swooped in there on Twitter to see if we could pick him up. That ended up being the missing piece for us because Rizzo was integral to getting into this year. So he was helping us figure out like best possible teams, best way of approaching things, like when it comes to contracts, and just really the #1 way of approaching it in a player first way. So we approached what's now Complexity X True Neutral. We didn't win there, and then we also approached SRG and didn't win there, but it ended up being a blessing in disguise because Queso was a roster we watched at the winter major and we're just going wild for. And then all the timing worked out. Rizzo worked his magic, got a little wacky in the DMs, and then one thing led to another, and we managed to pick them up.
I wonder what that entails. A little wacky in the DMs.
True, really.
That's crazy. Thank you for also giving us like that detailed insight on everything too. Like that's super important for a lot of people who don't know like the process to have. Rizzo, this one's for you. You know, you were left out in the rain, like MoistCr1tikal says, and he picked you up. But talk to me about your time here on Moist compared to like other orgs out there. Like, what makes it different?
I'm actually curious to hear about this.
Oh, okay, so like a lot of the other orgs I was talking to is I feel like they didn't really know what a content creator would want. And Charlie being a content creator himself, he knows exactly what a content creator would. And so as I was talking to like a bunch of these orgs, they were just like being really hard with me on like what they wanted, like versus what I wanted. But Charlie and the rest of the team was like instantly open to a lot of the stuff I was.
So to provide a little bit more on this as well, like more specifics, and hopefully Rizzo's okay with me sharing this without getting into too much detail. I asked him, so I saw Rizzo at PAX East in Boston like 2-3 weeks ago when he was there with Sunless Khan doing the thing for Acer. And I talked to him a little bit about it. You know, I asked him, Cannon, I'm like, yo, how's Moist been? They treating you well? Like, is things good? Like, are things good? And he's like, yeah, it's actually been amazing. And I asked him more like specifically about how he approaches things with Charlie, because obviously, like, it's MoistCr1tikal. The guy's huge, has a massive platform. Every video he puts out on YouTube pulls at least 1 million views. Like, there's a lot of potential to learn and grow from that. And from what he told me, he basically has the ability and the freedom to go to Charlie and say, hey, I want to do this idea, this idea, this idea. I want to do these things. And then Charlie is just accepting of it and is willing to help or involve himself in some capacity if that's a desire from Rizzo. So when he's talking about like, hey, as a content creator, you're an organization, you got to stream this amount of hours, you got to put out this amount of things, you got to put our socials on these like you have to do all these requirements, all these deliverables as they're referred to. And it seems like Charlie's like, as a content creator, you don't want to have limitations. We want to just help you grow and thrive. And that is kind of the difference, is because Charlie's perspective is coming in as I am a content creator. I know exactly what I would want. And the first thing I want to make sure I don't do is create restrictions on Rizzo's growth. I want to make sure that I can lean into that. I want to make sure that I can do as much as I can to make sure that he is successful. And if that means he comes up with these really cool ideas and I can supplement that in some capacity, that is the way to do it. So I think it's really, really cool on that kind of side. And that's from the short stint that I talked to him for like 5 minutes about it in Boston. So he seems really, really happy, and rightfully so.
Like suggesting and throwing out there. And I knew they wanted to get into Rocket League as well, so I knew there was like a big opportunity there for us to get a team and do all that as well. And like I think at the end of the day, the most simple way to put it is that like Moist just wants to have fun and they just want to have a good time, and it's not like a bunch of business dudes in suits.
Love that.
Stirring and stuff, so it's just really good vibes.
I think you're starting to see a transition.
Yeah, you guys, you know, and which is also congrats by the way for that, Rizzo. Like that's super dope. But I want to talk about like the watch parties, for example. Like,
I do think there is a transition where organizations are starting to realize it doesn't need to always be suit and tie.
feel that impact while you guys were doing it?
Oh yeah, so since starting MoistCr1tikal, it's always been like a great source of content for me. I love to just go like full caveman. I start hitting things with a baseball bat. Like I get real superstitious and crazy. Like it's super fun. And I knew going into Rocket League that would only really amplify that energy. So during the watch parties, you could see it. All of us were just losing our minds and just going really wild and just over the top. And I think that kind of hype is really fun, not just to like be there in person, but to watch. So the chat would always get behind it. You'd have people like spamming all kinds of like crazy superstitious beliefs. Like I haven't slept in the last 48 hours in order to keep the good vibes from Friday for grand finals and everything. And it's just a really fun atmosphere, I feel, when doing watch parties with a community that can rally behind a team. And the viewership was like really crazy. Like it was like 37K on grand finals for like
okay, it was even higher than I thought.
Fun. People just seem to have a great time just getting silly with us. I really appreciate the receptiveness from the Rocket League community to be so generous and supporting of the MoistCr1tikal.
I mean, I think it makes a difference. Is like you watch that stream, it's
like
engaging.
Echoed, like even from like the top down.
You
really
also are there like
show,
to support
like,
Moist, but you're also there as like
RLEsports as top fives, and the guy who does
as a fan.
Basement, he's a really big fan. And
you know,
I listened to it, and he just talks in like your voice during like the opening intro and everything. Just like does that whole kind of like soliloquy into it. So it does have a really an impact on us, because it's just been super exciting to be able to kind of see somebody come in and be the level of creator that you are, to also have that like watch party with everybody at the who's a part of the team, sitting there enjoying the games, talking about the cast, all that stuff. Now you said a little bit about like being there in person. Do you see yourself going to a Rocket League LAN sometime soon?
Oh, absolutely. Like I definitely want to. I have a bit of a phobia of flying, so I probably won't be going to the London one, but maybe if there's like a drivable distance one, perhaps in Dallas, for Worlds when we end up sweeping all the way through there. I'll probably be there for that. But I definitely do want to get.
I actually didn't know that about Charlie.
Especially with everything Rizzo said, everything I've seen, it looks amazing.
Yeah, super.
We when we were there for version 1 in LA, There was a lot of, because the
terms
team
of
was
the support
removed, a
that
lot of
you
the
give
higher
the
ups
team?
and their
Obviously, we
corporate
see
people
that
needed
kind
to
of
get back
public
home,
side of it
and
where
we
fans are
luckily got to
watching you
convince
play.
some of their
What's it
directors
like
and some of their
behind the
partnership
scenes?
people to stay.
Oh, I'm teaching them
And
pretty much everything.
a
they
lot of the
know. I'm
reason
a
why
Plat
is
2
to
specialist. The only
Right,
is
reason
to
right.
I'm
sit
not
and be
SSL
like,
is
hey,
Plat
you need to
2. So I've
experience
been
what
giving
Rocket
them
League
some like
is like
quizzers and
live
everything in that
and get an
ballpark.
appreciation for what this
And
community
really, it's
provides.
been
So I think
us
it's
just
something
having
that
fun
every org
together. So
owner
like
or
Rise and
org
I played
involvement
on
needs to
stream,
do, and
and we were
hopefully he
once
gets that in
it
Dallas.
made me look really stupid, and it ended up being like a fun video and a fun stream. Then on more of like the contract side of things, I wanted to make sure like the players felt like we were always behind them, so we don't touch any like the prize winnings or anything. We really amped up the salary for the EU region based on everything I've heard. So it's really just giving them the support because I believe they're
Love
the
that.
best team. They can easily be the best team in the world, and doing everything we
They're
can
pretty
to prove
good.
that to them and let them know that we're here for whatever they need. I mean, if Rizzo has anything he could say for like any other things we've done, feel free.
No, I think you really nailed it. Like all the support is there behind the scenes as well. And like as a previous pro player, like the Moist has given much more than any org would ever do. So
So
I
they're
just
getting
have the
paid.
vouch there.
He's trying
What'd
not
you
to
say?
I
like.
said they're getting paid, Rizzo.
He's trying to
Yeah,
be
they're
professional, but he's
getting
also
paid,
not.
yes.
He's
They're
also
getting
not
paid.
trying to
Well,
like
that's good. 'cause
talk
next
poorly
time I
about
see,
G2.
You know, Joyo and Rise, we going out. I'm having them pay. That's all I know. Everybody's calling me rich. I keep telling them that these players make more money than me.
By a
Okay,
lot.
well,
I know how much Dazron makes,
What the heck?
and
Anyways,
these players are definitely making more than Daz.
obviously, you know, the world's conversation is happening, and I'm gonna give you the floor to kind of talk your team up here
So
real
that's actually a
quick.
good question. King in chat says, "Hey, how does Charlie make money if he doesn't touch prize earnings and is paying the players' salaries?" So luckily for Moist, for Charlie, he makes a lot of money from his YouTube channel, and obviously this is an investment that is going to be in the negative for a little bit, but there is ways to make it back. Primarily by him getting involved in the scene. Like, can any of you say what other esports Moist is involved in? Because I can't. I don't know what else Moist Esports is involved in. And at the end of the day, he is spending this money. One is a Smash. Okay, so he's in Smash. So, like, he's paying those players money for the chance to have a solid team that is in front of hundreds of thousands or whatever. Can you guys in chat arguably say you're not fans of the Moist Esports situation? Because it's... Oh, yeah, they just did Splitgate as well. I just saw that. What he's brought into this scene already with the watch parties and everything else, like... I am 100% a fan of what Charlie is doing and what Moist Esports, as memey as the name sounds to say, like that fandom is going to come back in some capacity, whether it be support, financially, or otherwise, right? Like if someone buys a jersey or their merch or whatever it is, that is how they recoup some of the costs. Also, when they release in-game decals, which hopefully another iteration is coming very, very soon, like within the next month or two. But like when that ends up happening, people are willing to spend, you know, the couple dollars, the $2, $3, $4, $5, and that rev share coming back also comes back. Also, with him pulling 40,000 viewers on a watch party, he has the ability to position that to sponsors and say, hey, this is how many people are watching just our watch parties for like day one broadcasts and everything else. And we want to sell a spot, right? We want to say, hey, you can take your organization. For example, with version 1, they use eFuse. I think Guild uses Subway. Like, you can take that and put it on a card in-game decal and say, hey, we're going to promote you in-game, and this is how many people are going to watch and see and be a part of this. You position that in a way, and that rev share will come back and make money. Initially, yes, it's a massive investment. He's losing a ton of money. But you're talking about the opportunity cost and long-term what it could be into. So... those are ways that they can recoup some of those costs. The initial investment is a hefty one, but long term, you would hope that stuff like that will come back. But I'm glad to see that the boys are being compensated fairly.
Where obviously you guys have been following Rocket League because you've been looking at the Middle East region, you were looking at complexity, but where do you see this current Moist roster in the overall world's conversation?
Oh, no,
yeah, K-Corp's got a
by
massive fan base
far,
too.
When you say like comfortably number one, I think there won't even be close.
Yeah, no
games
problem, King.
anymore. The last
Good question.
one was just a little bit, I'd say, like an appetizer. We could have taken BDS in winners finals, but thought just for the sake of content, why not drop to losers? A little wacky down there. So I think going forward, probably just clean sweeps across the board. They might not ever give up a goal again, honestly.
You were talking about earlier how like
What an answer, man.
The BDS dominance forever. We wanted to let that continue just a little bit until we really took over and swept the whole season.
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
Those two are two peas in a
All right.
pod. I love it. It's so good.
All right.
I know Bates isn't laughing.
Yeah, he is freaking out. He is freaking out. Final question I have for you guys, because of course, you know, this is Rocket League, and you've invested in a team that is looking really good for the world's conversation, and you know, you put a lot of effort and time and money into them. Talk to me about like the esports of Rocket League.
This is what I really want to listen to.
And kind of like where you see the future of it going.
Oh, I think Rocket League Esports is one of the most hype out there. Like, everything about Rocket League is so perfect for a viewer experience, even for people that aren't gamers. My parents watched us. Like, they watched those games and were glued to it. It's just such a fun spectator sport. And you guys mentioned it right before we came on with orgs doing more. I really do feel like tier 1 orgs could do a lot more to like put eyes on a game like Rocket League, because it is not only like one of the most fun sports for people that play the game, but for people that don't play the game, it's super fun to watch. Easy to understand, super flashy, super fun. I just think Rocket League Esports is only just now on its come up. Like, I think the sky's the limit, and it's super exciting to be here right now, because it's only going to get bigger. And I really hope that coming up, more orgs will be doing like watch parties, or more than just like a tweet every couple of weeks. I feel like that's just not enough for a game like Rocket League, because it's so much fun.
He gets it, man.
They got me a
Like he gets it. And this is the difficulty, is like, while we are seeing organizations put in like NRG, for example. NRG puts a ton of content with their players. They do a bunch of custom map stuff. You're seeing Endpoint going out and doing more non-endemic things, and like they're trying, like there is some organizations that are building, but like we should all agree that there is so much more that could be done on the content side of things, or the ways that they approach and build out Rocket League as an esport. There's no reason that our players shouldn't be superstars like there is in like Call of Duty or Valorant or League of Legends. Like the players, the money, everything is there now. Like the infrastructure and everything, there is 100% a way to build these people up to be superstars. It no longer is the day that only Krinovi has 100,000 followers. Like, you are going to see some of these guys like explode into popularity, and the fact that they have someone like Charlie who says obviously all the right things. It's super endemic, like it's really easy to watch, the accessibility with friends, family, parents, whatever. Like there is so much potential. The fact that there is no explosions, there is no killing, there is no bombs, there's no shooting, there is no, like, demos are the worst thing that happens, but like Rocket League Esports has such a chance to be massive, and I think now it's starting to get into that like golden era, which I've talked about for years now, that once we get into the circuit-based system, there's a lot of potential because of storylines and everything else, but like there needs to be more interaction, especially from the people of power. And it may seem like it's already enough now, but it could always be more. And you hope to see that by things happening just across the board. And I do think that while everybody wanted, like I personally was like, yeah, if 100 Thieves comes in, that's really cool, because 100 Thieves always does make some pretty interesting content around the games that they're in. I do think Charlie will approach it in a way that honestly makes me miss Neat Mike, if that makes sense. Like Neat Mike, I think, would be probably one of the biggest content creators in Rocket League if he was still around, because he had such a different and charismatic approach to making content for Rocket League. It was so different than everybody else. I think Charlie has that vibe, but also understands the like professional side of it, while Neat Mike was perfect because he was so off the cuff and like just no fucks given attitude. So I do think that there is a reason to be very excited, and I think Charlie articulates it very well in a professional way because he has to. But I'm very excited for the future of what it is. So hearing him say that himself is really cool.
Emotional for a little bit. That's so great to hear. You have no idea, because I think a lot of us, you know, who've been involved in the game see that, and we that's what we want. We keep going. We keep trying to make this esport the best thing it could possibly be, because we genuinely feel that way too. MoistCr1tikal, Rizzo, again, thank you so much for joining us on First Touch, to chat with us. Before, I'll have you guys here when we close out. Before we close out for First Touch this week, I want to give you two the floor. If there's anything you guys want to say to the community,
curious on if they tease anything.
The floor is yours.
No real shout outs or anything, other than like maybe follow Rizzo on Twitch. He's an up and coming streamer, and we're doing everything we can to help get him out of that small streamer category, I suppose. But he's anything you can do, toss it Rizzo's way. And just a huge thank you to the community, honestly. The
what a troll.
Rocket League communities have been super sweet, and just wanted to say we really appreciate it.
I want to give a special shout out to Charlie for dragging me out of the mud. Like you said, I was left all alone. I was basically a cardboard box.
Mhm.
He saved me, saved my life. I'm really, really thankful.
I'm
Man.
not a hero though. I did it purely for business.
Okay. Listen, everybody on Rocket League or on Twitch.tv/Rocket League, thank you guys so much.
All right, let's transition. Yeah, you can see the approach, like that deadpan, the way that he like presents. While he is worth lots of money, he's supporting a team. He's paying like tier 1 money for a roster in Moist. Like that type, like imagine an org owner coming in from like Dignitas, like Prindiville coming in, or somebody else along those lines, or like Ocelot coming in and talking like that. Like it feels so genuine, of just like, I don't know, maybe it's just a personality style that I appreciate, but like I love seeing that approach to the game and how you can still be you, but also still be well respected. I think we're starting to see that transition to esports where we don't always need to be so suit and tie, and I think it's very welcome. And Moist is /Charlie is gonna hit the ground running. The fact that he like calls Rizzo an up and coming streamer and stuff, and then he also jokes like, I'm not a hero. It's purely business. Like I'm doing this to make money. Like it's awesome. I think it's such a good blend. So really cool stuff. Really cool stuff to see. Not only First Touch also getting in and providing that, but also the ability to like get some insight about the way that they're approaching things, what their mind is, and as well as me trying to talk to Rizzo when I got the chance to provide some insight on that. But if you guys enjoy more stuff like this and just kind of my takes on some of the things going on in the scene, let me know in the comments down below. Anything else you would like me to kind of talk and provide insight on, let me know. Otherwise, we always do Q&A videos on Sunday. Stop by the stream, leave comments down below for questions, all that kind of stuff. And let me know your thoughts on the whole Moist Esports with Charlie joining the scene. But with that said, it's going to do it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the content, as always, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.